Action Comics issue 1060 heads to a dark London pub where John Constantine listens to a punk band. Superman arrives, removing the man's cigarette and telling him he needs his help, since he doesn't know how to find his daughter without him. The visibly drunk John thinks they'll let anyone in pubs nowadays, but wants to know where Superman's daughter was taken to. Othel meanwhile calls across Earth Al Ghul for her brother and family, but Janal Al Ghul tells her she is a long way from Kansas and she brought the girl there because this is where she belongs. Othel confronts the villain, telling her that she is the daughter of Superman and he came to free her and her brother from Warworld and will come for her again. She unleashes a powerful energy blast onto Janal, but it does nothing, making the villain tease Othel's claims that Superman is the greatest hero in the universe. Janal reveals that she is actually called Sister Shadow and she has killed heroes, tyrants, lanterns, new and old gods, and her family brought about absolute peace and order to many Earths. That was until Superman and the Authority invaded them and turned it all to sand, destroying their gateways between worlds and all of the civilizations they built, leading to the houses of Wayne and Al Ghul to die out, all except for her. Othel tries to escape, but is met by an army of bat-like creatures. A Sister Shadow tells her that she found a new way to cross between worlds, and now her world's time has come. She reveals that every world they have conquered begins with the culling of the Kryptonians with the blue earth, but Othel was brought there because she is no weakling like the other members of the Superman family, but being with them will make her soft. Sister Shadow grabs Othel, telling her that she is meant to be something more as she shows her other Othel Ras within the multiverse, showing her the vision of the Valkyrie General of the Warworld Engines and Soul Bearer of Olgren. Sister Shadow tells her that Superman robbed her of this future and she has brought her to this world to give it back to her, while the other Kryptonians are culled. Back on Earth Zero, the news reports on the Blue Earth followers are suddenly developing powers and the police are struggling to contain them. All of these supporters raid A-Town, the alien refugee town in Metropolis, but Superboy, Keenan Kong and Natasha Irons confront them. The men think that they can be Superman now with the powers they have, but Superboy thinks they have a long way to go, slamming into the ground and causing the Blue Earthers to fall over. Back at Steelworks, Othel wants to go after his sister, but Lois and Kara are forced to stop him, since Nora Stone could take him as well, and they need to keep him safe. The boy refuses to take no for an answer and wants to go, unleashing some of his power. Kara tells the boy to calm down, reminding him of the story of the Red Sun and the Star Child, and wants him to tell her where they came from. The boy knows they came from Rao, Krypton's son, and Kara tells him that that's where his family comes from, and the seed that birthed both heroes has split into two, with one being found by the Avor people and the other being found by the Aldani. But the war with both tribes fought couldn't even keep them apart, with the siblings joining forces and heading into the caverns of Mundru, where the Red Sun's fire of Rao came to life and saved both tribes and his sister in their hour of need. Superman meanwhile heads to the Cathedral of St. Lazarus, the oldest cathedral in Metropolis, and it's where the Blue Earthers are basing their HQ out of. Constantine finds a magical door that tells them a chess move, making him quip that he's a bit more into blackjack. He asks Superman for a light, but Superman doesn't think it's a good time for him to smoke. John tells him that he needs the smoke for a spell, and when it comes to Superman needing some planets knocked about, only then can he tell the hero that it's none of his business. Superman reluctantly lights the cigarette with his heat vision, and with a few puffs, John uses the smoke to create a magical sigil, which opens the door. Heading inside, John is shocked to find the gathered magical artifacts and tomes, asking who Nora Stone really is. Clark tells her about the stone and her relation to Ra's al Ghul, among others. John thinks that she isn't to be trifled with if any of these knickknacks are to be believed, but he finds a lot of what he recognizes is wrong, since there are bones of people who aren't dead and ruins of places that aren't actually ruins. John hopes that Superman understands that magic is transactional and every interaction is a bargain being struck, so Superman better not touch anything, take anything, give or offer anything. John becomes horrified when he finds that Nora has made an Organum Infernalis, a magical treasure housed in the bones of a hellhound and fueled by the spirits of one of the condemned, and it's how she is teleporting between worlds, using hell as a checkpoint of sorts. Constantine refuses to touch the device, imploring Superman to find another way across amongst the magical trinkets. Superman doesn't think there is any time, but John reminds him that he pulled John into this since he knows nothing about magic, and taking the road through hell requires a toll. Superman soon begins hearing Othel's voice calling out to him. He calls back as John warns him that it's not Othel's voice and he needs to ignore it, but Superman begins to dig through the trinkets, finding it's coming from an hourglass. Othel shouts that she is stuck in the item and Superman, going against John's screams, grabs it. The hourglass explodes and destroys the Infernalists as well, sucking Superman into it. The Man of Steel awakens, finding himself in the company of Bloodwind and Etrigan the Demon, who thank him for freeing them from the Infernalists, and because of it, they will help him rescue Othel, as they have all seemingly arrived on Earth Al Ghul. In Parthas, John Kent thanks Nia Null for letting him stay with her in the refugee camp. Nia arrives with some breakfast and John comments on the extra spice burning his eyes from across the room. Nia explains that it's the Queen 52, the hottest pepper known to super science, and it has to be in her food as the capsaicin helps Naltorian precogs focus their powers, something she greatly needs right now thanks to the dream that came to her last night, and she needs a bit more clarity on it. She hopes that it's about Livewire's transformation as John sees someone at the door. Nia gets a vision on who it is and opens it to find Amanda Waller waiting for them. Waller is impressed with her secret town as John fills Nia in on who the Wall is. Waller explains that she has a job that only Dreamer can do since only a precog can take down another precog. The woman explains that Afterthought, a former employee of hers, has gone rogue and his powers allow him to see 5 seconds into the future, which allowed him to massacre the Death Patrol she sent after him. Waller knows that he wants revenge and plans on blowing up Belle Reve. John believes that Afterthought is planning on freeing the prisoners that Waller has there, which doesn't sound like a bad idea, but Waller demands that he shut up since this isn't Superman work, and when she is leveraging him, he will know all about it. Amanda makes it known that if Dreamer doesn't help, she will broadcast Parthas' location to all over the 8 o'clock news. Superman refuses to let Nia be blackmailed, but Nia knows that this is what her vision was about. Superman refuses to allow her to risk herself, but Nia tells him that she is doing it for the people of Parthas, and they need her while the world needs Superman. Nia agrees to help Waller, and later, Dreamer catches a vision on what happened if Afterthought will get into Belle Reve, finding that Waller was right, but it's because she tried to kill him. Waller doesn't think that years of service doesn't mean much if the attack dog starts second guessing who to bite. Dreamer knows that Afterthought intends to bite Waller, but Amanda can't allow his jailbreak to happen, having tracked Afterthought to an abandoned bayou resort. Dreamer figures that Waller wants him stopped since if he breaches the jail, he will kill the guards and the ensuing riot will actually kill the prisoners that he intends to free. Dreamer demands the coordinates, given no choice but to help. Amanda orders the airstrike to be readied in case Dreamer fails, but Dreamer wants to be given a chance. Nia ventures into the resort, confronting Afterthought, who knew that she would be there. Afterthought figures that they are evenly matched because of their powers, but Dreamer knows that he uses precognition as a weapon, but for her, it's a way of life. Dreamer and Afterthought battle through the resort, and Afterthought keeps Nia at bay, but this is all part of her plan as she hasn't actually been actively trying to hit him. She has been hitting the walls and support beams, which cause the roof to collapse on the villain before he can even sense it. Dreamer emerges from the rubble carrying Afterthought, who thinks that she didn't fight fair. Dreamer tells him that lives are on the line, including his own, since he wouldn't survive the riot at Belle Reve, and his powers wouldn't have given him enough time to escape the collapse of the roof. Afterthought believes that if Dreamer really cared about saving people, she wouldn't be working for Waller, since now all his men will be killed. Waller meanwhile reveals that Afterthought wasn't her real target, Dreamer was, and Dreamer already knows this. Dr. Hate meets with Waller, hoping that she is pleased, and Waller is, as she got Dreamer to swallow her morals and join her, making her reveal that she can be controlled, and if she did this for her, she will do a lot more and their future together looks bright. 6 months ago on New Kandor, the United Planets Council tell General Zod that they thought his pledge to them was genuine, but he has since covered his world in a veil of secrecy and adopted isolationist attitudes. The beings think that he is hiding something, but Zod refuses to be talked down to by a Kaluan of all people, and they have constructed a new model of society to help fulfill their destiny. Zod tires of their hypocrisy as the United Planets remind him that if not for their funding, Zod's plans on New Kandor wouldn't have been able to take shape, and they refuse to let their efforts fail because he has a change of priorities. Zod wants to talk about their efforts to bring order to the cosmos, showing them his robotic emissaries were destroyed while on a scouting mission in a neighboring system, and he demands to know how they are dealing with the rogue elements in other systems, but the council refuses to let him change the subject, as this is about Zod's place amongst them and he knows what's at stake, as he was there when the United Planets begun. As one of Zod's experiments continues to grow in a stasis vat, the council tells him that peace in their time will happen, with or without General Zod. Beings cut the communication and the Eradicator asks if they believed the General. Zod asks his underling for a status report, learning unit production has increased by half. Zod is pleased as they cannot rely on the natives to fill the ranks of their military, at least not in their current state. Elsewhere, Zod finishes killing his way through another set of natives, telling his robot that despite the enhancements, these aren't warriors yet. He demands to see his mother, going to her eugenics lab and telling her that her program is severely lacking. Ursa finishes her notes as Lore tells her that the combat skills of these men are barely risen above the hunter-gatherer era, but Ursa doesn't think that it's an exact science, it's really just trial and error. She thinks genetically enhancing an indigenous population is akin to playing God, but Lore understood that the Eradicator program would give them an army to command, but Ursa tells the boy just to trust in his father, as he sees things differently to them. Lore has doubts about his father, as he hasn't been himself for some time now, and he prepares for a war, but they don't know what that war is and why they are fighting. Ursa doesn't think that Lore will ever understand, since he was born in the Phantom Zone and never saw the loss of Krypton that she or Zod saw, and Zod wants to prevent that happening again to their new home. Lore brings up something that he found on the planetary scans, which show a security net had been placed over the southern hemisphere, which obscured it from the satellite surveillance. Ursa tells the boy not to concern himself with matters outside of his very limited jurisdiction, and he must remember that as her firstborn, he has certain expectations. Lore suspects he'll find all of that out once his father places him on a path to succeed him, a day both he and his mother know will come sooner rather than later. Lore heads out of the city and towards the southern hemisphere, which was cloaked, but is confronted by Zod's robot guard, who demand that he turn around and leave as he does not have jurisdiction there. Zod meanwhile meets with Ursa, telling her that she looks troubled. Ursa wishes that she came with good news, but their son is growing restless. Zod believes that his restlessness will pale in comparison to what lies ahead of him. Ursa is aware of the House of Zod's traditions, but thinks Zod should consider a more rational approach, but the General finds that there is no other way. Lore meanwhile battles the robots, ripping them apart and demanding to know why they are protecting this area. Unable to get a straight answer, he batters one away, but it hits an invisible shield, cracking it. The robots demand that Lore is not authorized to be there and he must leave, as the boy dives through the crack in the shield the robot made. On the other side, Lore is shocked to find his father is constructing a huge Kryptonian crystal dome, which makes Lore ponder what General Zod could possibly be up to.